The Return of the King was released in 1980 and is a sequel to The Hobbit released in 1978 and shares many similar themes, styles, and even the same soundtrack. However, many consider the sequel to be an inferior movie, and that is what we will be discussing today in this video. An analysis on The Return of the King Part 1, Everything Wrong with The Return of the King. To start off, this is not a bad film. Some aspects work brilliantly, while others fall completely flat, such as some wibbly-wobbly dialogue here and there, and the fact that Gandalf does absolutely nothing but kill this one orc. Those are just two minor issues. The following are the real problems. There is a serious lack of tension. Throughout the whole film, there is no tension, and that is because the movie opens at the end. The opening scene is a party held for Bilbo Baggins. Here we see every major character alive and well, all smiles and having a great time, so we know nothing will happen to them, and everything will be okay. The movie even brings up the fact that Frodo is missing one of his fingers, so we aren't even surprised when that happens. This is quite a pity because Boromir's death in the Peter Jackson Trilogy is the first death of a major character that I can remember. It added so much tension to the trilogy because, as a viewer, I understood that no one was safe from death. So it's quite a shame that this film threw aside all that tension. The next problem is that The Return of the King focuses purely on the third novel of Tolkien's trilogy. This is incredibly jarring, as when the movie starts, there is so much character development that is present in the film that we haven't, as viewers, had the chance to see. The characters have also found themselves in situations that are never explained to the audience. Let's take Frodo and Sam for example. We meet them at the beginning of the film, and we've been told that Frodo has been kidnapped and Sam must rescue him. But how did they get separated? Well, you'll never know. And this stuck in the middle of nowhere without an explanation happens to all the major characters. In essence, these characters have gone through 2 books worth of experiences and adventures, and the movie has to try and explain to you who they are and what they've done. And this leads into the movie's next biggest problem. There is an overabundance of narration in this film. Now, controversial opinion alert, I enjoy narration in my movies. I honestly do. And Gandalf's voice, since he's the narrator in this film, perfectly captures my attention and suits the fantastical nature of the film. But oh my word, it just happens far too often. Within the first 10 minutes, we've already had 4 different sets of narration, and by the end of the film, the narrator has spoken 17 times. There's a rule in films: show, don't tell. And at times, it feels like this movie is trying to do the exact opposite. It tells you absolutely everything. The final problem links with the narration, and it's the soundtrack. At times, this movie feels more like a musical, with the lyrics explaining exactly what's happening on screen to the viewer. A perfect example of this is at the end of the film, once the ring has been destroyed and Aragorn returns. The lyrics proclaim the return of the king, the destruction of the ring. We just saw that, we don't need you explaining it to us. Plus, there are 2 actual musical segments in the movie. One in the opening, and secondly, the orcs singing, "Where there's a whip, there's a way." The orcs are singing. You know, talk about taking away the feeling of a threat. So, is The Return of the King a bad movie? You see, no, I don't think so at all. I understand that this movie has problems, but ultimately I enjoy it. And I'll be focusing on the things I enjoyed most about the film in part 2. Everything great about The Return of the King.